But there's a tweet here. In Niger, Kevin Rideout, an American missionary pilot, was kidnapped by suspected Islamists several days ago in Niger. Kevin, a husband and father of 4, was taken from a residence in the middle of the night by 3 armed jihadists. Kevin serves with the Evangelical Missionary Agency serving in mission, and also Concilium, a ministry providing security resources to missionaries and persecuted Christians. Kevin's captors may be transporting him towards Mali. Pray that Kevin is rescued for his family's strength and the Spirit's peace to move through them all. Here's the Truth Social post. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. Can we just stop all aid and assistance anyway? Like, can we do that? Is that an option? Can we do both? And may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out these Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet. Just like the terrorist thugs attacking our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. What does he mean by sweet? What do you mean by sweet action? Are the missiles going to be dipped in peppermint? Maybe. Maybe they will be peppermint missiles. Obama-appointed Judge John McConnell ordered Trump to divert emergency funds currently funding WIC and use them to fund SNAP. The emergency fund would only extend SNAP benefits for 2 weeks, and it would cut off benefits for women and infants, which is a very weird thing to do. Why would you want to cut off the benefits specifically for mothers and their children to then give it to SNAP beneficiaries instead? You guys had told me before, because I did not know the difference between WIC and SNAP when we first discussed this. And you guys told me that WIC is much more stringent, much more difficult to get on, and it has much more strict rules on what you can buy. So that's really fucking weird that you would want to do something like this. And so this says, don't bother asking an LLM like OpenAI or even Grok if illegal aliens receive SNAP. They will insist that they don't because federal law prohibits them from receiving SNAP. This is like saying people do not speed because the speed limit prohibits them from speeding. True. Let's get into the facts the AI won't tell you. Most frequently cited statistic. We already know about the illegals on there. I wanted to see if this talked about anything to do with stopping SNAP. Shutdown is revealing more than administrative weakness. It is exposing the moral failure of a system that confuses compassion with dependency. Politicians on the left defend SNAP as an essential lifeline for the poor. That much is true, but it also has become a magnet for fraud and a mechanism of quiet population support for illegal immigrants. SNAP structure ensures that benefits flow to households, not individuals, making enforcement almost impossible without political will. Even those who want to leave the program find it punishes self-improvement. And this is a big thing I've spoken about for many years, is how all of our welfare programs in this country are set up to make sure if you get on benefits, it is against your best interest to try and get off of them. Because as soon as you start making a certain amount of money, your benefits start getting cut and rolled back. And so you start having to fill this cycle of like, I don't make enough money to fully support myself yet, but I'm losing the benefits I needed to be able to support myself. So if I keep working on improvement, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere. And you have to go through like a period of, I can't afford jack shit when you're trying to work on getting a better job and getting yourself off of benefits. It's very, very rough. And a lot of people find it more convenient to just stay on the benefits than try and get themselves a better lot later on. The cutoff could be more gradual. There's like a, there's some sort of like work thing. I'm not sure what it's called. Like if you get on like disability temporarily, they have like a work program thingy where like if you start working, you like report your income to them for so many months. And then after those so many months, then your benefits will get shut off. And so it gives you like a bit of a buffer, but the buffer is weird in the fact that like, even if you make a certain amount of money in those months, they could still tell you that they overpaid you and that you have to pay back, which is why it was such a big deal when Trump came out and said anyone who were on these programs, if you had pay that you had to give back into the program, you're not going to have to do that anymore. the people that had that were people who were likely trying to get off of the benefits by working. And then they were told, oh, you were paid too much by the benefits, pay some of that shit back. And it's like, where are they going to get the money from? I think the system has undergone some changes to incentivize work, and you've seen some people who successfully get off benefits and stay. I'm not saying it's impossible. People do it. People very much do it. It just takes quite a bit of effort when the easy route is to just stay on it, you know? SNAP requires you to be applying for jobs, but there's no follow-up for if you actually get one. It's an honor system that goes unchecked. And we know exactly how honor systems work in our society currently, and how just blown out of my mind I am when I go somewhere remote and you get to buy from like a little farmer shop and there's nobody there. Just a little lock box on the table that could be easily stolen where you put the money in it. The seals are pretty animals. Protester, no, they're not. What the heck? A lot of the U.S. needs policy changes and reworks. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, why would you work when you can eat better for free? Yeah, it's horrible. It's a really shitty system. It is clearly designed to keep people stuck, like most programs nowadays. It's exactly what the government wants. If you have more people reliant on the government, you will have those people insured as a vote as long as you continue those programs and continue those handouts. Because SNAP benefits reduces by roughly 30 cents for every dollar earned, and because those losses stack with other welfare phase-outs and taxes, the effective marginal tax rate for a low-income worker can exceed 40% or even 50%. Work harder, earn less. The result is predictable. Millions of Americans, perhaps 20 million, stay in the system permanently, conditioned to believe the only way to increase their income is not by working harder, but by having another child or inviting another friend to join their household, which raises the benefit level. The welfare structure quietly trains dependency as a survival strategy rather than rewarding independence. He worded it way better than my goopy ass brain did, but yeah, completely. The long-term dependency has created what can only be described as a lifestyle class, a group trapped not by vice, but by arithmetic. And this again, like, I want the government to stay shut down until they can fix these kinds of things. But I feel bad for the people who genuinely need SNAP benefits or some kind of thing like that, right? That are going to have their benefits cut and turned off because of all these people that take advantage of it. And that's why I really hope something can get fixed so that the people who genuinely need it can stop having these issues pop up because of everyone who just wants the free shit. They're victims of a structure that makes work irrational and effort futile. Each month they swipe their EBT cards and hope the next Congress does not cut their benefits. As the shutdown looms and payments stop, many of these hardened dependents have taken to TikTok, recording thousands of videos about their anxiety and panic. Their stories are not of hardship, but of dependency, showing how thoroughly the system has conditioned them to see the government as provider. They're told the system is there to help them, but it has quietly made them wards of the state. And that's true. And a lot of people don't understand that the scariest words that a man can hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's artificially keeping the population poor. Well, like where he says, they're victims of a structure that makes work irrational and effort futile. This sentence especially makes me think of communism. Under communism, work is irrational. Why would you put in effort to be exceptional if you would be the same as everyone else? It wouldn't make sense. Why would you put in effort to do something very, very well when everyone around you can do the baseline and get the same as you? That is the exact structure that encourages that. SNAP funding is set to lapse November 1st, leaving recipients empty-handed. So this article thing here, Judge John McConnell ordered Trump, and it looks like that order didn't do anything. The prolonged U.S. government shutdown is putting millions of Americans at risk of missing their November food stamp benefits, a vital lifeline for low-income households. U.S. Department of Agriculture, which oversees the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, stated in a memo on Sunday that no benefits will be issued on November 1st, leaving the program's roughly 42 million beneficiaries uncertain about how they'll pay for groceries next month. Get a job. SNAP recipients receive an average of $187 a month on a prepaid card, and many families rely on those benefits as their main source of money for food. Many of the registered with the program are asking if they will still be able to use the remaining dollars on their cards once funding is suspended, and if they'll receive their November benefits retroactively, should lawmakers reach a deal to reopen the government. See, the intelligent people who are like, I know I need to live off of this and I have no other option, trying to be smart and being like, okay, well, if I save some of the money on my card from October, if I just eat less, maybe I can use that in November. That would be crazy if they were told, no, I have no idea how that works. Hopefully, they're not punished for being smart, like every other smart decision when you're on government benefits. A stoppage in SNAP payments on November 1st isn't guaranteed. 2 federal judges in Massachusetts, of course, and Rhode Island ruled on Friday, October 31st, that the Trump administration is required by law to use contingency funds to pay at least partial SNAP benefits. Again, why would you want to take WIC benefits away from people who genuinely need them and have stricter requirements and less fraud, and give it to SNAP, which is riddled with fraud? The government must respond by Monday on whether it plans to allocate money to continue payments. With just days, okay, so I guess we'll have an answer on Monday, which is weird, right? Because if the benefits are supposed to go out on the 1st and they're not going to, they don't respond until the 3rd. That seems like a really weird timeline. I'm gonna be real with you. With just days to go before a potential suspension in SNAP funding, here's what to know. While SNAP benefits will not be dispersed as scheduled in November, program recipients can use existing funds on their cards. Okay, so that's really good. That's really good. If you were intelligent and you planned ahead, that's very good that you can still use funds that were left over. That would be really fucked if they said that you couldn't. I'm gonna be real. To make purchases. If someone enrolled in the program hasn't spent all their October EBT dollars, for example, those benefits would roll over into November. Some states are advising recipients to use their remaining food stamps wisely, given the statement overfunding the federal government. If you have remaining balances from previous months, we encourage you to plan your shopping carefully and purchase essential food items when needed, Hawaii's Department of Human Services said on its website. The USDA hasn't indicated whether SNAP benefits would be paid retroactively once the government shutdown ends, but social service experts who spoke with CBS News said that they expect the USDA to pay the delayed November benefits once federal funding resumes. I would be 100% okay with back paying the SNAP benefits if and only if there were the changes made to the program in order to kick people off who were fraudulently acquiring SNAP benefit. If you can kick off everyone using it fraudulently, or at least reduce the amount of people using it fraudulently, I think the people who genuinely need the SNAP benefits should 100% get that back pay. Social service experts who spoke with CBS News said that they expect the USDA to pay the delayed November benefits once the federal funding resumes. It is our understanding that SNAP benefits will be issued retroactively when the shutdown ends, said Lizbeth Ginsburg, a managing attorney in the Welfare Law Unit at Greater Boston Legal Services. Federal rules governing the food stamp program stipulate that SNAP recipients are entitled to their benefits and that they should receive them if there's a disruption, said Gina Platanino, interim SNAP director at the Food Research and Action Center, a nonprofit group that focused on ending hunger. That's why many state agencies have done a very good job of saying your benefits will be delayed versus you are not getting benefits, she told CBS. While SNAP is federally funded and overseen by the USDA, each state is responsible for administering the program to its residents. Some states are taking action, with Democratic lawmakers urging Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins to tap into an estimated $5 billion in contingency funds to cover SNAP benefits next month. This should absolutely not be done while there are still people who are on SNAP benefits fraudulently, or illegal aliens receiving SNAP benefits. They should not be getting that pay. Something needs to be done before that happens. On Tuesday, a coalition of officials from 25 states and the District of Columbia sued the Trump administration over the suspension of benefits, arguing that it is unlawful. The lawsuit notes that this would mark the first delay in SNAP benefits in the program's history, where Americans rely most on food stamps. That's interesting. That's interesting. New Mexico, do you have something you want to say about this? What's going on there? Massachusetts, 15.1. God damn. God fucking damn. At New Hampshire, 5.4%, baby. Maine, 11.6. New York is only 14.9. I'm kind of impressed. Kind of impressed that there's more people in Massachusetts on SNAP benefits than in New York. I'm genuinely surprised. I'm genuinely surprised. Pennsylvania, 15. West Virginia, 15. California, somehow only 13.9. Oregon, 18.1. That's big. Show you a demographic breakdown of this map. Oh yeah, it's interesting all in the Midwest here. Let's see. New Hampshire was 5.4. Arkansas, 7.8. Minnesota, 7.8. Kansas, 6.3. Nebraska, 7.5. Utah, 5.1. Wyoming, 4.6. Idaho, 6.7. Montana, 7.1. And North Dakota, 7.2. Which is South Dakota's 8.1, but that's because Meth's South Dakota's problem. Does that mean New Hampshire's the lowest? No, Wyoming is the lowest. New Hampshire's second lowest. That's great. Nope, Utah. So Wyoming, Utah, New Hampshire. That's crazy. New Hampshire is third lowest SNAP reliability in the country. Wyoming is so low, it's like nobody lives there. There was something else that I was looking at, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was like just overall welfare programs, and the two states with the lowest welfare recipients were, again, New Hampshire and Wyoming. The only state with less people on welfare benefits was Wyoming. Someone please explain to you how they can sue Trump over it when he isn't the one holding the money hostage. I don't know, man. New Hampshire's a comparatively affluent state with no large cities. That's true. That's true. Anti-federalist pain, thank you. The average family on SNAP doesn't pay taxes and has twice the money to spend on food per month as the family that barely doesn't qualify and has to pay taxes. Forgive me for not really caring. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the reality. I agree. GS Wolfwood, thank you. Don't forget the assholes using EBT and SNAP for their crappy catering and restaurant businesses, i.e. buy yourself a plate. Easy to make good profit margins when everyone else pays your supply costs. Somebody commented on one of my posts and they were like, what are the odds that that shitty meal prep service that you got scammed by, what are the odds that they were using SNAP benefits to buy the ingredients for that since they were kind of wonky? I was like, that's a good fucking question. Fun fact, many large supermarkets, including Walmart, are profitable solely because of SNAP. Yeah, there was Asmongold responded to someone as well. He responded to someone talking about how when people like get their SNAP card, they'll do stuff like they'll go in and like buy certain stuff and trade it for like drugs or whatnot, you know? There's a little video here.
You have Republic. I mean, this is a program that has exploded over the last 20 years, and we are just dumping $100 billion a year into a program that we all know is being so woefully corrupted and exploited. People are selling their benefits. People are using them to get their nails done, to get their weaves in their hair. I mean, this is a really ugly program. It's weird to me to hear Josh Hawley screaming that we have to protect this and that we're not talking about why is it so ridiculously expensive and exploited and what can we do to make it better.
I just provided my colleagues another one of my charts yesterday that showed from the inception in the 70s until President Obama, we would fluctuate somewhere between 6 and 10% of Americans on food stamps, right? Then Obama came in, dramatically increased flux of eligibility. Now it's between 10 and 15%.
Which
and
is
now
crazy.
You have 42 million Americans, 12.3% of our population on food stamps. That is not a metric of success. It's a metric of failure.
Yes.
And no, I mean, that program needs to be dramatically reformed. We are making way too many Americans dependent on government. That's what Obamacare did with the Medicaid expansion, which is really pushing out disabled children from care because of, people, because they get paid more, would prefer providing medical services to single, able-bodied, working-age childless adults. I mean, it's sick. I mean, the damage Democrats do with their supposedly well-intentioned programs, but completely poorly designed programs is incalculable.
Yeah, I don't think they're even well-intentioned. I think it's all just a game to get as many people on them as you can, because then you've got a very reliant base of voters.
He's correct.
It's
a reliant base of voters, and it's how you sneakily get in all that communistic people being like, yes, we should have communism. This is great. I get the free shit. That
if they need that program, if they need that money, they're always going to vote for you. So it's just a game of how many can we get on there. And that's why the moment you start talking about doing it responsibly, they freak out, because that's going to be cutting people off of it.
Yep.
I mean, that's the worst thing for their product.
I can't argue with the Democrats are all about growing government, which means making more Americans dependent on government.
Yep.
That's not the way to improve our society and really improve those people's lives.
And then some retard Democratic candidate for Congress in Missouri too, democracy advocate, some retard here who probably has never known anyone on SNAP or lived around people on SNAP or food stamps as it used to be called, saying this is a lie, this is racist bullshit. And thankfully, the cockroach man himself, the way it works is that people who have food stamps trade their card for cash, usually at a rate of 50 to 80%. Many people do this. It's a common practice with people who have more balance than they need for food. I was on food stamps before. If you were, you would know this. There are a lot of people, if they have more money than they need, even if they don't have more money than they need, if they have other ways of getting food, they're going to sell those food stamps for cash because they can do more with it. It's a very, very common thing to have happen. We had like the soda talk a while ago. And it's like, soda absolutely should not be something that you can buy with food stamps. Do I want the government to tell me what I can and can't buy? No. But if I'm taking the government's money, if I'm taking the taxpayers' money, then yeah, there should be some standards there. And Bombowgate, you said wealthy countries are also wasting loads of food when poorer countries would even think of wasting edible stuff. I really hate the amount of waste that is generated. I hate that, like, restaurants or places that sell food, if they're not things that can be sold the next day, if they have to be like baked fresh or whatever, they have to just throw that shit away and they can't just give it to people. And I'm wondering if the reason we can't just give it, right, we can't just give it out, is because not only does the company not want to have its margins hurt, but people would just wait until it's free. Like, why buy at 6 p.m. if at 7 p.m. it's going to be free because they're just getting rid of it, you know? Like, I don't know what, like, a happy medium would be in between that. I don't know how you would be able to work around that. And then also, like, some of you are saying, like, the liability. People are very sue happy in the United States. If you eat something that was supposed to be thrown out because it expired at that day, even if it's not bad, they just can't sell it past that date. If you eat it and you get sick, that puts liability on the company that gave it to you. There's someone who said it's over, and this is Miss Rachel for Littles. I've always thought her name was very fucking creepy, because I don't think you should call actual children littles, because that is a BDSM sexual term. But here's a picture of her and what I guess is her husband and Zoran Mamdani on a call. Miss Rachel for Littles said, enjoyed hearing about baby baskets, free childcare, and making our public schools better at Zoran K. Mamdani. And I wanted to show this because I wanted people to remember when I was going through Bridge and when I found out about the creative artist industry, or the CAA. Miss Rachel and Songs for Littles sign with CAA is an article that we read about a year and a half ago now, if not longer. CAA has signed the popular children's entertainer Miss Rachel, as well as her YouTube show and educational brand Songs for Littles, for representation in all areas. Wow, I'm so shocked. And that is her husband, so I was right. And also, as a friendly reminder, Miss Rachel faces backlash on TikTok because of Dylan Mulvaney. Not long after popular children's YouTube host Miss Rachel revealed she was being bullied online over a fundraiser she started to help children all over the world, she's now the center of another controversy. Miss Rachel's content is wholesome and educational, but after some saw a comment she left for Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender social media personality, Miss Rachel is now facing more backlash. With many of them standing up for her on TikTok, while others try to cancel her because of a comment she shared with Mulvaney. I'm trying to find where she said it. Sometime when you're in New York City, you should be on our show, Songs for Littles. We love you and your singing. So, Miss Rachel, someone who makes content explicitly for children, wanted Dylan Mulvaney on her show, was signed by the CAA, which has heavy DEI and anti-white policies, and now she is promoting Zoran Mamdani. It's almost like you could have seen this coming if you knew your prior things. This is what happens when libs try to copy Mr. Rogers. There will never be another Mr. Rogers, man. Charlie Kirk suspects trans lover Lance Twiggs goes missing 6 weeks after political assassination. Transgender lover of Charlie Kirk's alleged killer has seemingly vanished from his hometown 6 weeks after the political assassination that shook the country. Lance Twiggs, 22, has been on the down low since his boyfriend Tyler Robinson allegedly shot the Turning Point USA co-founder dead and then sent Twiggs a string of text messages confessing to the slaying. Twiggs has steered clear of his $1,800 per month love nest on the outskirts of the isolated desert oasis of St. George. Authorities previously said that he's cooperating with authorities, but Twiggs has refused to speak with media while Robinson awaits trial in a Salt Lake City jail cell. Robinson made a brief court appearance on Monday where he mounted the legal argument that fellow accused political assassin Luigi Mangione used in his case. The Utah native asked that he be allowed to wear civilian clothes in future appearances, arguing that a jail jumpsuit could prejudice the jury pool against him. He also asked to appear in court without shackles. The judge granted him the first request but denied the second, in a partial win for Robinson. Mangione made a similar argument in his case, though it does not appear his judge was as agreeable, and he was subsequently seen in his federal lockup fatigues. Robinson is set to appear again on January 16th, and his arraignment has been set for January 30th. Robinson and Tues, whom authorities are referring to with masculine pronouns, moved in together sometime after the latter's devout Mormon parents booted him from their home in 2018. They may have since reconciled. Tues' Venmo account shows several payments from his parents over the past 2 years, with descriptions including prescriptions and gas money. The latest payment from his dad occurred just a few months before Kirk was shot. It is unclear whether Tues is living with his parents or is even still in St. George, 4 hours from Utah Valley University, where Charlie Kirk was killed. Tues' car, an Infiniti FX35, is now parked in his parents' driveway. Jesse Riley, who lives just a few houses down from Tues and Robinson's apartment, said he couldn't recall seeing any activity from the property since Robinson, also 22, turned himself over to the cops. It definitely is a shock that it happened here. It's a quiet neighborhood. You know your neighbor on your left or your right, but people are pretty isolated, Riley told the Post last month. Tues had a fraught relationship with his strict Mormon parents, but the reasons why are disputed. A family member told Fox News that Tues wasn't being respectful and was problematic, used drugs, and was addicted to online gaming. But others close to Tues tell a different story. Members of the Nielsen family, who gave Tues a place to crash after he got kicked out, described the then teen as a good kid who studied hard and cared about his friends. I loved Lance. His parents kicked him out of his house and he lived with us. His parents never sat right with my family, said Braylon Nielsen, 19, whose brothers were close with Tues and members of a group chat with him, as well as Tyler Robinson. I don't know if I'm going to believe anyone's character statements when they're in a group chat with both this guy and the guy that did the assassination, considering we know that there's copious amounts of Discord messages and group chat messages talking about this stuff. He had straight A's, he was very hardworking, not a big partier, he just took care of people, Nielsen added. Tues' former teachers seemed to agree. Everything I've heard about him, he was a great kid, he was nice. He worked hard, Ben Kaufman, superintendent of Tues High School, told the Post. I heard all good things. Can you imagine if a teacher said something bad about a transgender student, though? The parents seem to have reconciled with their prodigal son, at least some prodigal son. Investigators say Tues received a string of messages from Robinson describing the shooting, hiding the gun, and his struggle to escape. You are all I worry about, love, Robinson wrote to Tues before surrendering to law enforcement. Robinson was charged. Court documents him confessing to his lover in text messages. We read those back when this happened. Tues has not been charged with a crime, and authorities say he is cooperating with police in the investigation. One relative of Tues claimed in a Fox interview, I think Tyler got a whole lot worse in the year he and Robinson have been dating. They're big gamers, and obviously they have that group that influences them as well. Robinson also expressed to his lover a grudge about his father's support of President Trump. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA, Robinson wrote in the messages. And then as an additional to this information, Discord text messages reveal Tyler Robinson's trans partner Lance Tues took black market HRT, drugs, and created trash nests. New messages and details allegedly relating to the suspect arrested for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, and the suspect's trans-identified lover, Lance Tues, has been revealed. An anonymous person who claims to have known the two for a number of years leaked Discord messages and spoke on the pair's relationship dynamics to YouTuber Turkey Tom. Oh, the Turkey Thomas, man. The person said that they had been in Discord servers with Robinson and Tues and had been playing video games with the two for around 6 years. A group of friends regularly held get-togethers, I almost said geld-togethers, in which they played Magic the Gathering. I count myself kind of close to them, but I was trying to separate them from myself because being around them wasn't good for me, the person wrote. Describing Robinson as a really level-headed and easygoing, while Tues could be anywhere from too depressed to talk to manic, wide-eyed, crazy person. The person said the apartment would drastically shift from clean to super depending on the state of Lance's mood. Clean to super? Super what? They said that a roommate moved out around 2 weeks after Robinson moved in with Tues. Lance had a really big breakdown. The living room went from a place redacted could have guests over to being filled with trash. He basically had layers of wires, random Temu trinkets, decorations, random art projects, clothes, and empty alcohol containers everywhere. And if anyone touched it, he'd get livid. They described nest phases Tues would allegedly go through, the first of which saw Tues working very rarely. When Tues was super depressed or just too manic, he'd take the day off work and hit his THC vape drink and scroll wheels. THC vape drink? Was there a comma missing? THC vape, comma, drink, comma, and scroll wheels? They wrote that Robinson was kinda your normal blue-collar Utah guy, And most conversations with him, he'd talk about hunting, camping, gaming, and he loves talking about fishing. Something reflected in Discord logs provided by the person that saw an account they identified as belonging to Robinson talking about going on a trip down a river, as well as a fishing trip, both in 2020. Describing Twiggs' alleged actions after Robinson moved in, they wrote that Twiggs had experiments in the kitchen, including growing mold in Tupperware mugs. What the fuck? They said Twiggs' mother is like super Mormon and also kind of crazy, so there's that. And all the drugs like weed, LSD, shrooms, DMT, and I think he said Molly, but I'm not sure. Also, alcoholic levels of alcohol. Lance has always been a little weird and quirky, but never really crazy. He was constantly arguing with his mom every time he saw her, and then ranting about Republicans and Mormons when he got home. They described themselves and Twiggs as being libertarian, and Robinson as being very apolitical at the time. Discord messages allegedly sent by Robinson stated that a 2020 debate was fucking hilarious, and that Trump keeps arguing with the moderator. While in October 2020, threaded messages showed Robinson allegedly wishing that shit like anti-vax wasn't protected under freedom of speech because it's speech that actively harms people. Well, I mean, no, the speech itself doesn't harm people. It's the actions that people can take after, but like the actions are more like self-harmful. What does this mean? Twiggs had his next phase for like probably 3 to 4 months before he sort of went back to normal, they said, and added that at the tail end of that, the two of them talked, and Twiggs, quote unquote, told me he was trans and that it wouldn't change anything, and that I could even use whatever pronouns and he wouldn't care. Things were cleaned up around the apartment and Twiggs became mostly normal, the person said. They wrote that at one of the weekly gatherings for the card game, Twiggs would hang out with Tyler, and we'd have to call him to the tables every time it was his turn. They added, one of my gym buddies was the first to pick up on Tyler and Lance being really close, and that I was in denial for months because I thought Tyler was straight, and I also kind of did not want it to be true. The person wrote that they started noticing changes in Lance's political views as the presidential election got closer, including complaints of old people staring at him, and that Twiggs hated the construction workers who would misgender him, while Robinson wouldn't really get political until after the election. He'd sometimes just casually bring up the latest thing Trump had done and complain about what it'd do to the country, but in a very level-headed way. By this point, I could safely say Lance and Tyler were some flavor of left-wing, while I'd kind of become tired of politics and mostly apolitical, but never anything I thought was like dangerous. The person wrote at one point, we noticed Lance had been growing breasts and said that he had been taking black market HRT, which I do not know what that entailed, but I think it was making him very erratic. So basically shut down for like 2 weeks, not talking, just hitting his vapes in the living room in the dark. Is this going to be another case of like taking Keffel's bathtub moonshine, as it were? Is this another touched by Keffel's instance? That's kind of crazy. If it would be. That would be really funny. At one gathering for the card game after this, they wrote that a friend started to bring up transgenders in sports, and Twiggs yelled at him to shut the fuck up from the other room. The friend continued to try and bring it up and was allegedly shouted down literally not even a second after he started his sentence every time. At some point, the game, Twiggs just disappeared, and we heard a lot of thumping coming from upstairs, which they said Twiggs had gone into full tantrum mode and was thrashing around on the floor while Tyler tried to calm him down. After that, Lance went fucking mental. They wrote that Twiggs would allegedly be super wide-eyed with like either a loopy grin or a rictus grim like the fucking Joker, depending on his mood. The nest came back in full force and Lance started living downstairs full time again. They shared a photo allegedly showing a cleaned up version of the nest they described, which showed a table covered in wires and other objects. They claimed that Twiggs was talking with ChatGPT day in and out. He hardly ever slept. Discord logs shared by the person showed an account they identified as belonging to Twiggs, saying in December 2024 they slept from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which was eating me alive. Twiggs also allegedly started leaving little papers around the house that he had scribbled on while doing that giggling shit, with the person sharing various photos of paper with random words, icons, and scribbles all over them. Are we sure he was taking black market HRT and not LSD? Because this sounds kind of fucking crazy, man. What the hell? They also claimed that Twiggs spoke in a weird way that they described as a bunch of words, but none of them made sense together. Or sometimes it'd be in rhyme, or just sometimes he'd only smile and point at shit. They added, bro, if I were religious, I would have called an exorcist. The smile was so fucking scary. They said that Twigs had shown them conversations with ChatGPT, which were just paragraphs of random Greek and I think Roman symbols with numbers and random letters going on and on and on. And that Twigs has solved some equation backwards and showed me the ChatGPT text as proof. He started yelling at me that Nikola Tesla was abused by the people in his time and that no one we knew was smart enough to solve that equation, including me, because he's way smarter than me, the person wrote. This was all in a weird, broken up sentences, too. They said that Robinson and Twigs had basically been up for like 3 days straight talking to ChatGPT at the time. The person eventually moved away from the area, writing, I imagine Lance was just alone with Tyler in the apartment, just driving Tyler fucking crazy. I'd be hard-pressed to stay sane while living alone with Lance while he's like that. They claimed that in a Discord call around 2 weeks before the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Robinson, who had been charged with the killing, acted completely normal. Discord logs shared by the person going back to 2020 showed the group discussing a wide range of topics and making off-color jokes. Among the messages allegedly sent by Robinson was one from 2021, which stated, my brother had an accidental discharge and shot a hole in the wall. A 2024 comment regarding the attempted assassination of Trump said, snowflake liberals can't shoot straight because they're too busy being gay. And a message sent just over 1 month prior to the Kirk assassination that stated, I am very ill, with an emoji next to it. What the fuck? In June, Twigs allegedly sent a message to the chat asking if anyone wanted to go to a No Kings protest in St. George. Another message sent in December 24 stated, here you reside in the femboy server. It's always the femboys. Why? A message sent in November 24 stated, sorry, I'm watching a show with Tyler. While in another sent in February 25 stated, I'll see, depends on if me and Tyler are going on a date tonight. Accidental clarity. Yeah, right. The one moment of lucidity. But I thought that was an interesting update on what's going on with Tyler Robinson and that whole shenanigan situation.